Ethan had always felt a little out of place in the world. He had a good job, a comfortable life, and friends who cared about him. But something deep down with him was not right. Despite everything going well on the surface, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was missing something different. Something that went beyond the material world. One night after a long day of work, Ethan felt a weird pull to go outside and escape the lights of the city. Without really knowing why, he drove out to the countryside, a place he hasn't been to in years. The stars were out in full force, a brilliant sea of light spread across the night sky. He parked his car at the edge of a field, turned off the engine, and stepped out into the stillness of the night. For a moment, Ethan stood there, taking in the vastness of the universe above him. He hadn't really looked at the stars in a long time, not since he was a kid. He remembered the way they used to fascinate him, how he'd spend hours imagining distant galaxies, wondering if there's something more to life than what he saw every day. He'd find a spot in the grass and lay down, staring up at the sky. The stars seemed closer than ever, shimmering with an intensity that almost felt alive. As he gazed at them, something inside him began to shift. It was subtle at first, like a soft wave washing over his thoughts, dissolving the edges of his busy mind. Suddenly, the familiar boundaries that separated him from the world around us seemed to blur. The more he looked at the stars, the more they began to feel like they weren't just far off points of light, but part of something larger, something that included him. It was as if the night sky was not just above him, but within him as well. A strange but profound sense of connection began to flood through him. He realized that every atom in his body, every particle of matter that made him who he was, came from the stars. The same stardust that formed the galaxies, the planets, and the endless reaches of space also made up his body. He wasn't just looking at the universe, he was the universe. In that moment, Ethan felt an overwhelming sense of peace and awe. He no longer felt like a small, insignificant person lost in the vastness of the cosmos. He was part of it. The universe wasn't something outside of him, it was something he was part of, and in that realization, he experienced a profound sense of oneness. He lay there letting this realization sink in. For the first time in his life, he didn't feel separate from the world around him. The trees, the earth, the sky, the stars, all of it felt alive, connected and conscious, as if he could sense the pulse of the cosmos flowing through everything. The boundaries of his identities, the things he thought defined him, began to dissolve. He wasn't just Ethan, the man with a job and responsibilities. He was an expression of the infinite universe, experiencing itself through the unique lens of his life. As he continued to lie under the stars, Ethan felt as though he was floating, weightless, as if time itself had slowed down. Thoughts, worries that usually dominated his mind faded into the background. In their place, there was only stillness. He understood then that life wasn't about the constant striving for more or the endless search for meaning outside of oneself. The meaning was already here, woven into the very existence of life. In this state of deep connection, Ethan began to smile. He wasn't alone. He had never been alone. He was part of something so vast and mysterious, and yet it was as close to him as his own breath. The stars, the planets, the earth, and everything living, they were all part of the same cosmic energy flowing through him and around him and in every direction. Eventually Ethan got up, but the feeling of oneness stayed with him. As he walked back to his car, the world seemed different. The cool night breeze on his skin, the rustling of the grass, even the distant sounds of the wind, they all felt like part of him, as if the universe was speaking to him through them. Driving back home, Ethan realized that nothing in his life had to change, yet everything had changed. The world was still the same, but now he saw it with new eyes that understood that he was deeply connected to everything. From that night forward, Ethan lived with a deep sense of peace and purpose, knowing that he was part of something infinite and beautiful. The universe wasn't a distant, cold expanse. It was his home, his essence, and in every moment, it was flowing through him. And in knowing that, he had found the connection he had been searching for his entire life. We are the universe.